So you want to figure out how to find your maximum heart rate so you can find all of your training zones for your running. Zone 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. This is what I use. Now, you can go to a lab and you can get tested. You can see what your VO2 max is. You can find out all of those details. But for the average runner, look, you don't have the money, you don't have the time to go to a lab, get tested. You probably just started running, or maybe you're just running for recreational purposes. And look, you don't want to get tied up to a machine and go through the process, or maybe you can't even find a place that actually offers it for you. So in running terms, what is meant by your maximum heart rate? The highest number of beats per minute your heart can possibly achieve during an all-out exhaustive physical effort. It is the absolute upper limit of the heart's ability to pump blood, and it is largely determined by age, genetics, and is not a measure of fitness. A fit person and an unfit person of the same age can have the same maximum heart rate. It is a relatively fixed number that tends to slowly decline as the person ages. It doesn't sound fair, but that's the reality. So for a runner, your maximum heart rate is an anchor point used to personalize your training. It is the crucial figure for calculating your training heart rate zones. So I do a field test, and a field test seems to be, I don't know, it seems to be the easiest way for me to do it. And so one of the problems that I find with new runners who have kind of hit the sport is they look at the 220 minus your age, and then they start to use that to figure out what their maximum heart rate is. And look, I don't know where the 220 minus your age kind of came from. I mean, I really don't know. If you know, comment down below. I'd like to hear what you have to say. But I really don't know where that kind of came from. I think there was a study like many years ago where they used this number to kind of give you some sort of an estimate, but that's really what it is. We are all different. None of us are the same when it comes to running. So using this 220 minus your age type of thing to come up with your maximum heart rate can seem, okay at best, maybe. On two other ways of figuring out what your heart rate is using age related. One of them is the Tanaka formula, and that was from 1979 in Japan, where they basically took 208, okay, minus, and then 0.7 times your age. And that came up with a number, like your maximum heart rate. Then there was the Nicolini in 2011, where they took 211 minus, and then you got your brackets, but 0.64 times your age. And that would give you a number. I know a number of people have used different ones, but these are other ways that you could figure out what they are, age related. If you really want to know an accurate number, then you can take a look at using a field test, okay? And what I mean by a field test is a couple of different ways that I've seen people do this. I've seen people who live in a hilly area, and they're like, you know what, I'm gonna just do hill repeats, and I'll be able to figure out, what my number is. So they'll pick a hill. Let's say it's 2 minutes up this big hill, not too steep, a gradual incline. Not like nothing crazy, but as long as it's elevated and it's a gradual going up, and you can run at least 2 to 3 minutes up there. And you can do like 2 repeats. Do your warm up, right? Do your warm up, 20-minute warm up, nice and easy, and build in some repeats near the end of, like, let's say the 20-minute warm up, right? Where you're going a little bit faster and a little bit faster on, let's say, 4 repeats at the end of this 20-minute run. It's important to stay loose, limber. You want to make sure that you're not going to get injured, because when you're doing all out running, it can be a little crazy. So when you start doing your test, you can do 2 repeats. That's what I've seen people kind of talk about. You could do 3 if you wanted, but you could do 2, right? So the first one, 2 minutes up, and then you're done. And then you can jog back down for about a minute or so, and then do it again. And then on the last one, whether you do a 3, you can do 3 if you want, but I mean, I've seen people do 2 and 3. On the last rep that you do, you want to take a look and see where your maximum heart rate hit, and then you can use that. That's one way. Or you can hit a track, right? Most people have a track close by, or some area where it's just flat, and you can use speed to actually get things, elevated. And so one of those things is you could probably go, again, do your warm up at the track, right? Nothing crazy, just like I did before. After your warm up, then it's the time for the test. Okay. And so one of the things you can pick a couple of ways. You can do 800-meter repeats. You can do 400-meter repeats. Okay. And typically 400-meter is once around a track. Okay. And so if you do, let's say, 3 400-meter repeats around a track, that should be pretty good because you're going to be going all out on these 400 meters around the track. And then typically when you do that, then you'll want to take a break, maybe 3 minutes, right? Maybe 2 minutes on that first one. Then the second repeat, maybe your recovery between 2 and 3 is maybe, let's say, 2 minutes. And then on the last one, maybe it's down to a minute because you don't want your heart rate to get too low, right? And so the last 30 seconds of running around this track, that's the number you're looking for because that's probably where you're peaking at your maximum heart rate. And you want to go hard. Now, the other thing that you want to do is use a chest strap. A chest strap will give you the most accurate, or you can use an armband, and that will give you maybe even the next level of let's say, accuracy when you're doing this. You don't want to rely on your wrist. That's one thing that you don't want to do because you won't get an accurate number. But if you've got a chest strap, it is very, very accurate. That's what I've seen. That's what I've used. And I like that. Then you can take that maximum heart rate number. Okay. That's what you've now established as being your maximum heart rate number. You will want to update this every year, right? Maybe even twice a year because we are changing. Okay. We change all the time throughout the year. Right? Our fitness level isn't the same in January as it is in September. Okay. It'd be very, very different. So you want to make sure that you stay on top of that because when you figure out your zones, right, that you want to make sure that you're running in the right zone to get the best performance out of your body. I still think using, getting on a treadmill and doing one of these tests in a lab would be fantastic if that's something that you wanted to do. But if not, do the field trial or the field test because I think that would give you probably real life scenario while you're out running on a track or running up hills. And to do that, I would use the Kvarvin formula. That I find is the most accurate way of calculating your training zones. And I will talk about more of that in a video next week. So right now, for me personally, what I am doing is I am trying to figure out a way to get back to be stronger in my running. The last year has been pretty bad. It's been a lot of stuff going on in my life. So while I go through these cycles, I look at my life and realize as I get older, I need to make sure that I'm paying attention to my maximum heart rate because it may not be accurate when I look at STRAVA, when I look at my Koros training app. When I look at these things, they're not accurate anymore. Okay, a lot's happened in my life. And so when I look at that, I kind of get down on myself. But look, you can't change your genetics and you can't change your age. It is what it is. So instead of looking at it on a negative lens, okay, instead of putting the pressure on things that you can't change, look at how you can change things. You can get out and you can do a test to see where you're at, okay? And it may be where you are, but unless you test for it, you don't know where it is, right? They say that your maximum heart rate is what it's going to be and you can't improve it or whatever, but I call BS on that. Look, I may not be a coach. I may not be a doctor, okay? I may not be a cardiology doctor. I may not be anything like that. I may just be a guy who likes to run. I like to experiment. I like to make videos sharing my example of how I am using running in my life to improve as a person, as a father, as a husband, as a dude who's in his 50s who just loves to run. And whether you're here to follow me on that journey, whether you're here to learn something, whether you're here to criticize me, or whether you're here just because you found the video and went, hey, what's this all about? My name is David. I'm the Plant Powered Runner. I've been using age-related formulas to figure out my maximum heart rate. I've been using the Maffetone method to train my aerobic base. I've also used the Kavarvan formula. I've run half marathons, ultra marathons. I've done a lot of these different things, not always in a racing environment, but on the weekend, during the week. Just, I want to figure out what my body can do in my time. And I just like to document the journey and things I know. Thanks for joining. I do appreciate you guys following along, right? Commenting, right? Liking the video and subscribing. I mean, look, there is a good percentage of you who are not subscribed to the channel, but there are a good number of you who have been following for a long time. And that to me means a lot. And for all of you who are new to the channel, look, welcome aboard. I appreciate you for clicking on the video and maybe even getting to this point in the video. So from me to you, thank you. I appreciate that. I don't like to waste people's time. And I always want to make sure that I have something to give of value. So that's why I'm doing this video, because I think that there's a good number of people out there that are always trying to figure out how do I figure out what all my zones are? And do I need to check them all the time? Or maybe I just set it and forget it? I get it. I understand. Now, there's probably a good number of you who may look at this and go, hey, Dave, you've been using the Kavarvan formula. You've been using these age-related type of training. Yeah, I have. And they work. Remember what I said. Everybody is different. No two people are the same. So what works for one person, it may not work for somebody else. So if you get all critical, right, maybe put a mirror on yourself and go, whatever you're saying, maybe you're saying it to yourself, right? Maybe you're in a position of like, oh my gosh, you know what? I'm not doing very well. And look, I can relate because I do that every day when I make these videos. I look at myself and I'm making these videos and look, I'm not right and I'm not wrong. This is just my own personal opinions. And if you like them, cool. If you don't, hey, that's okay as well. So, right? It's just my channel and this is just the way I roll. So whatever I say, take it with a grain of salt because I'm not any of those guys. I'm a mid-pack kind of runner. I've got weight to lose. I keep saying it, but it's true. That's for another video because I can make a whole big one as to why I am the weight that I am and why I struggle, because it's something that I think I need to share. So whether or not you've gotten the information that you need to figure out and do that field test, find out what your maximum heart rate is, and then start to use the Kavarvan formula to start coming up and figuring out where your zones are. Look, that's going to be in the next video because I think it's important to combine a lot of these things together to make sure that you're getting exactly what you need. And there's also going to be another video called, it's going to be a threshold video. And that there is going to be another way that you can determine your zones. And I think that's also a good, way to figure out what all of the zones are as well. So there's a couple of other videos coming out because I'm trying to get better. I'm trying to be very transparent in my fitness, in my running, and I'm just trying my best, right? Trying my best. in this whole space. So from me to you, like I always say, get out and run. And this video right here, I think can help you along your journey. This is such an awesome place to go for a run. I mean, it doesn't really get much better than that. This is awesome. It's to be the most beautiful morning in a long time to go for a run. But that is Kempenfelt Bay, just here in Barrie, Ontario, just north of Toronto. But this is stunning. I might have only been able to get out for one run this week, kind of like last week. But I'll tell you, I picked a damn amazing place to go run. This is absolutely beautiful. Kempenfelt Bay in Barrie, Ontario. Just about 45 minutes north of Toronto. Like I always say, get out and run.